The Nationals lost a tough one yesterday of a score of 7-6 in Chicago, but more importantly, CJ Abrams, he's back on track.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And of course, I'm your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as our show page at LO_Nationals for all your latest Nationals news and notes. Make sure to check us out over on Twitter. And while you're at it, make sure to search up Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcast, whether it's on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Google Play, wherever it is, you'll find Locked On Nationals. All you have to do is, again, search the podcast name, which is Locked On Nationals. Later on in today's show, we'll preview the Nationals-Cubs weekend series, as yesterday was a nail-biter of a game. Patrick Corbin was on the bump. We'll get into that in the first segment. But in the second segment, I do want to talk about some Nationals prospects, as a lot of all the affiliates have had their season wrapped up now. And all you've got going on is the Rochester Red Wings, but who's been up and who has been down? The latest individual performances for your Nats top prospects will get you that in the second segment of today's show. And I also want to talk about Shohei Ohtani in the first segment. 50-50 season. First time we've ever seen that. Incredible. Incredible athlete, an incredible player. We'll discuss that, but today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, and now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. All you have to do is visit FanDuel.com to get started, and we get started discussing last night's nail-biter of a loss for the Nationals as Patrick Corbin went out there, and this is Patrick Corbin's last road start as a Washington National. We're not going to get into the numbers because we do know this. Patrick Corbin, I mean, again, his second to last start here in DC, his last road start, in fact, is this start for the Nationals. And maybe the Nats do bring him back on a non-roster invite to spring training. I don't know at this point in time. I doubt it, really. That's just kind of my gut feeling. He is a clubhouse leader, but still, he's got one more start, in my opinion, wearing that curly W on his chest. But furthermore than that, CJ Abrams. We've talked about all of this slumping that he has been doing. Gets back up in the leadoff spot. Yesterday goes 4 for 5, 1 strikeout. His OPS is back up to a 750. He had 2 doubles as well, by the way. 2. James Wood has a double as well in yesterday's game, as he went 1 for 2 with 3 walks in yesterday's game. And unfortunately, Dylan Cruz is riding the struggle bus right now as he went 0 for 5 in yesterday's game. But the biggest headline, in my opinion, was Jacob Young, unfortunately. You saw it yesterday when he was stealing a base, sliding into second. His shoulder went numb on him, according to Davey Martinez, and they didn't really have any more updates after that. He said that he has not been able to talk to the trainers up to this point, but it would not surprise me to see Jacob Young's season over. To hear that his shoulder went numb, that's not a good sign. That doesn't really tell you all too much. Now, fortunately for Jacob Young, he's put together a very good season. And again, this is pure speculation that if I'm the Nationals, I'm just going to play it safe and ride on with it because you've got guys that you want to lay your eyes on. Now, if the Nationals decide to call someone up, if they decide to get other guys in action and try to play them in center field, maybe that'll be the case. But Jacob Young has been a huge bright spot for the Nationals this season. He's going to win the Gold Glove, and if he doesn't, then it's a completely rigged system because this guy has been the best defensive center fielder in all of baseball, in my opinion. He's been that good out there. So furthermore than that, though, this is going to be a pretty big loss over the next week and a half. Now, again, the Nationals are one of the worst teams in the National League. You're not really playing for much. You're in this big scuffle. You've lost 4 straight games now. And these are just one of those things where It's unfortunate, but you're up against the last back week of the season. There's really no need to push Jacob Young to try to get him to play. He's proven himself this year. If he finishes the season, if last night was his last game, he batted .254 with a .644 OPS. I'll take it. I'll take that any day from Jacob Young. Again, Gold Glove caliber center field, someone who will probably be in the fold going into next season unless the Nationals make some huge splash move in the outfield like a Juan Soto. I don't expect that to happen at this point, but maybe they do. So that was an unfortunate thing of yesterday's game, but I do want to spend some time not talking about the Nats and talking about the guy, Shohei Ohtani. I'm sure you know by now, Shohei Ohtani completed his 50-50 season yesterday. The first in Major League Baseball. 50 home runs and 50-plus stolen bases. And he did that going 6 for 6 against the Marlins with 10 RBIs, 3 home runs, and 2 stolen bases. Shohei Ohtani, at this point in time, not only is he going to win MVP, not only is this guy the best player in baseball right now, not only is he the best hitter in baseball right now, this is the best player you will ever see. And there were at times a few years ago where I was kind of like, I mean, this guy's really good and he's got a ton of potential, but I don't think he's going to be an all-time kind of player. Well, I was so wrong. So wrong. Not only can this guy be the best pitcher in all of baseball at one point, but he can also be the best hitter in baseball. He's now got 51 home runs on the season. As far as stolen bases go, 51 stolen bases as well. He's batting .294, a .629 slug that leads the NL, a 1,005 OPS on the season, leads the NL. And this is after he led the American League last year, winning another MVP just last season, doing basically as good of things just this past season. Shohei Ohtani, again, I don't know what there is to say about him anymore. I just don't. He carried his country's back just last year, going to the World Baseball Classic. They won it all. Shohei Ohtani, what do you even say about this guy anymore? What can't he do? He's going to win his third MVP this season, rightfully so. And really, a few years ago, he probably should have won it again, but that's for a different conversation for a different day. He finished second in MVP voting back in 2022 and finished fourth in the Cy Young race. If you're a top 5 hitter and also a top 5 pitcher, you probably should have won MVP, in my opinion. It's going to be like the new thing. Like, you know, in the NBA with LeBron James, it's like if you really get down to who's the most valuable player, that's what the award is. How is it not LeBron James? And in this case, how is it not Shohei Ohtani? Even in this season, having the first 50-50 season ever, he's going to win MVP. There's no doubt about it. I don't even know what the betting odds are, but it's got to be like a minus 1,000 favorite at this point. He's going to win MVP, and it should be a unanimous decision, by the way. But who knows what Major League Baseball voters do. But we just need to talk about this guy more. You need to appreciate him. And again, I know this is the Locked On Nationals podcast. I understand that. But you got to take time to appreciate one of the great players that we will ever see. And again, the first time in Major League history having a 50-50 season. What a performance. And Skip Schumacher, the Marlins manager, after the game was asked why he didn't walk Shohei Ohtani. And he had just such a great answer. You don't do that. You just simply do not do that. He understood the situation. He understood what was at stakes for him. And if this was like Tony La Russa going up against him, he probably would have walked him. But thank God Skip Schumacher has a little bit of a sense for the game. And just an incredible performance by Shohei Ohtani to get his 50-50 season yesterday. But let's get back into the Nationals as we have a National stock report. Who has been up and who has been down? This is for your Nationals top prospects. But before we get into it, let me tell you guys about some of our very good friends over at eBay Motors. And of course, there's passion, drive, and patience, which is the formula for winning championships. And it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance: superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you need at the price you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Now we get back into it with a Nats stock report for your Nationals prospects, who has been up and who has been down. We start off, and let me just say this stock report is loaded with first-round picks, if you're into that. 3 first-round picks by the Washington Nationals are in this stock report, and we start off with a stock up for Elijah Green. Elijah Green, now, this is supposed to be a recent success, within the last few weeks, kind of get a good sample size, and that's really what it is. But I do want to hint on Elijah Green a little bit here. Over his final 50 games, he batted .258, a .341 OBP, a .490 slug, and an .831 OPS. In his final 50 games, also had 9 home runs, 31 RBIs, and 23 stolen bases. Elijah Green, we've talked about it. The strikeout rate, it's bad. It still is bad. He had 91 strikeouts over his final 50 games, but he also had 23 walks, which is decent enough, in my opinion. But Elijah Green did kind of turn his season around just a little bit. Now, again, this is his second full season in low A Fredericksburg, and you would expect the kid to be up in high A Wilmington at this point. I'm not trying to sell you that Elijah Green is back. I'm not trying to sell you that Elijah Green will be a huge, big-time prospect again within the national system. But I do give credit when credit is deserved, and he does deserve credit for a solid second half in Fredericksburg, and he did have some big moments on their way to a Carolina League championship, like hitting a triple to the opposite field, which he smoked, by the way, to right field, and helped them gain a little victory there down in Fredericksburg. And he's also commanded the outfield very well. Eric Bach has talked about this with us time and time again. This guy is an elite center fielder, covers ground. He's got great arm out there. And when he's on the base path, he's a very smart base runner as well. It's just a matter of what he can do at the plate. That's really what it comes down to. And you know me, if you listen to the show every day, you know I prioritize offense, and I need to see some power numbers from him. And if he had a .490 slug, which he did for the final 50 games, 9 home runs as well, 23 stolen bases, you'll take that production any day of the week. So hopefully he can carry that into next year when he starts in high A Wilmington. At least I expect him to start in high A Wilmington, and we'll see what the Nationals do from there. Another former still a top prospect in the system, Brady House. He gets a stock down on the latest Nats stock report. And over his last 15 games, he's batting .210, a .231 OBP, and a .242 slug. That is a .473 OPS. He had no home runs, 4 RBIs, and 21 strikeouts and only 2 walks in his last 15 games here. And he has been a big candidate for someone who has really fallen back here in the second half. I was thinking there were portions this summer where you would see Brady House up in the bigs at this point in time. I thought Brady House would get a cup of coffee in the majors, start next year in AAA, and maybe even compete for the starting third baseman job. But Brady House has been really struggling in AAA. His season numbers down in Rochester are really not all too impressive. So Brady House, at this point in time, you should not be concerned with his overall development. He's still a very young kid. I mean, he's still got a very bright future as well. He's got very good raw power. He's really good at the hot corner there. He's got a great arm, great defensive ability as well. So Brady House just has not been hitting the baseball, and I think it'll just be an adjustment period for him, and hopefully he hits the ground running starting next season, and maybe over these last few games in Rochester, he can really get going here because he's going to need it at this point in time to kind of make his season numbers look a little bit better. Stock up for one of the Nationals' top pitching prospects, in my opinion, Andrew Lara. Over his final 5 starts in Double-A, he's got a 2.28 ERA in 27 2/3 innings pitched, 25 strikeouts, 6 walks, only 3 home runs allowed. He's got a 168 batting average against, a 231 OBP, 284 slug, and a 515 OPS. Andrew Lara, just a few years ago, was one of the top pitching international prospects coming out in that class. And Andrew Lara, over his first 2 professional seasons, really disappointed. But the last year and a half, he's kind of had this renaissance, and he deserves it. This guy is a very good pitcher, and I read something from MLB Pipeline yesterday that he was kind of the Nationals' breakout prospect this year. Not Travis Sakura, not Harley and Susanna, but Andrew Lara. Lara is still someone that I think kind of gets lost in the shuffle, but he is a very talented pitcher, someone who sits low to mid-90s. He's not really going to blow you away anymore like he was back in his early years with the Nationals, but Andrew Lara is still someone who I think, again, kind of gets lost in the shuffle of a very good prospect system right now as far as pitchers go, because you've got Sakura, you've got Susanna, you've got DJ Hurst, who's up balling up in the majors. So you think of these guys, but you kind of forget about Andrew Lara, and he has had a tremendous bounce back season, especially in Double-A. And to end the season strong like this, he's probably going to start next season in Triple-A Rochester, and then the next step will be our Washington Nationals. So really good start for end of the season for Andrew Lara. Now we get a stock down for Kevin Madey. Kevin Madey is one of those guys where he is a stud defensive middle infielder, shortstop, second base. You can really move him all over the diamond. He started this season very well at the plate and then kind of fell off a little bit. Over his final 10 games, batting .211, a 279 OBP, a 237 slug, and a 516 OPS. 11 strikeouts as well. I'm not here to tell you that you should be all on Kevin Madey watch. I compare him to kind of like a Nasim Nunez kind of prospect with a little bit more upside, though. I like Kevin Madey. I think Kevin Madey actually has some really good metrics defensively, obviously. He's a very good defender, but also at the plate. At portions of this season, he had very high exit velocities, which were very encouraging for someone of his age and his stature. He can steal bases, plays really good defense. But again, similar to Elijah Green, it's what he does at the plate that will hold him back. And that has held him back quite a bit here. And unfortunately for him, he did not finish the season strong, but Kevin Madey is still someone that you should be kind of keeping your eye on. And he could be someone who does make the majors, maybe even as soon as next season. So we'll see what the Nationals decide to do with them entering 2025. But Kevin Madey did not finish the season strong. But speaking of finishing the season strong, how about Nationals 2024 first-round pick, Seaver King? He gets a stock up on the final stock report for him. Over his final 15 games in Fredericksburg on the way to a Carolina League championship, he batted .309, a 400 OBP, a 400 slug, which was an 800 OPS. He had 9 walks, 9 strikeouts, 7 stolen bases. He had a double and multiple triples as well. Seaver King, you see why the Nationals took him at number 10. You see why they were able to cut a deal with him. This guy does have a lot of talent, but it's very raw. And I think we've seen that. Going into this offseason, I'm going to be very interested to see what the Nationals do with him. Will he spend this offseason kind of under control of the Nationals, if you know what I'm saying, and kind of work with their guys, or will he go out on his own? If I'm Seaver King, I'm probably going out on a limb and go out on my own. For those who don't really know, James Wood, that's what he did this last offseason under the Scott Boras Corporation. He went under Scott Boras' guys, and you saw the swing adjustments this year. You saw this guy kill the baseball down in AAA, and then you saw him do it up in the majors as well. There's a difference. I would like to see Seaver King take that route as well. Now, again, the Nationals player development side is much different than what it was even just last season. I do think the Nationals have a better system in place. So maybe the Nationals, it is in the best interest to go under the Nats. But Seaver King did finish the season really strong. And I thought that was very encouraging for your Nationals top 10 pick in this last year's draft. So we'll see what he can do going into the offseason. But now we are not in the offseason yet, at least for the prospects. We got to preview the Cubs-Nats series. But before we do that, I'm going to tell you guys about our friends over at FanDuel. And of course, you've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. And all you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Again, this is one of your last opportunities because now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. It is September 20th. You only have until this Sunday to get this offer now. All you have to do is visit FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. The Nationals play at 2:20 Eastern time today, and you know who's back. There goes that man. Trevor Williams is back in the rotation today, making a start against Jameson Taillon. And of course, I talked about this yesterday. We're finally going to a 6-man rotation, but it's better late than never, I guess. So Trevor Williams today. Trevor Williams was, at one point this season, the Nationals' best starting pitcher. He just was. Now, I don't really believe that, but that's what the metrics and the stats were saying. Trevor Williams had a very good season before he got hurt and missed the last few months here. But Trevor Williams, the expectations for him today are pretty damn low. He's going to look out for the best interest of himself. He put together a pretty good first half of the season where he's probably not going to want to get stretched out all too much. It would do well for him if he goes out there and completely shoves it, especially against his former team with the Chicago Cubs. But you're going up against a pretty good Cubs team we saw last night. Even if they don't have the pitching, Jameson Taillon is a very good pitcher to go against. So we'll see what the Nationals do in today's game, 2:20 Eastern time against the Chicago Cubs. But tomorrow's show, you have Mackenzie Gore, or tomorrow's game, you got Mackenzie Gore against Kyle Hendricks, the doctor, 2016 world champ with them. So if you're not aware, Kyle Hendricks is basically the Patrick Corbin of the Chicago Cubs. He has not put up very good numbers this season. You don't really see all too much of him, but Mackenzie Gore has kind of had this renaissance over the last few weeks here after really struggling throughout the summer. So let's see what he can do. Wrigley Field, day game tomorrow on a Saturday afternoon. It's going to be very interesting, to say the least. So we'll see that. And then on Sunday in the series finale, the final Nats road game of 2024, Jake Irvin against Shota Imanaga. And of course, Imanaga at one point was the Cy Young favorite in the National League. He has since been bypassed because he's really struggled, had a little injury as well in midsummer. So we'll see what the Nats do this weekend. But the Cubs, they really aren't playing for much. And the Nationals, they aren't really playing for much either. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what can happen here. Wrigley Field, though, really cool sights. If you're going to the game, tweet me some pictures at Ryan Clary 11. Comment in the comment section, whatever it is. If you're at Wrigley Field, and even if you're just watching on TV, it's a really cool sight to see that old ballpark in action with the ivy there. Such a cool place to see baseball. If you're there, enjoy it. And of course, you can check back with us on Monday for Locked On Nationals. The Nats have an off day coming up on Monday, and we will talk about that Chicago Cubs series. So, of course, look up Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcasts, including over on YouTube. Just search Locked On Nationals. We will catch you then. Have a good one. Go Nats.